Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Michelle for Afro Expats. And today, hold on a second. Let me just turn this off. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Today, my guest is missing in action. I'm not really used to kind of having this scenario. So if anyone comes on, I just wanted to kind of, let you know what's happening, and we're going to just regroup and have another guest next week. I was supposed to speak with Diva Green, and I reached out to her. We've been communicating, so I hope she's okay. But anyway, I'm here. What I wanted to kind of like drop on you guys is there anything specifically that you would like to see here? I really started with the idea to help anyone that's interested in opening a business. How can you do it? And also showcasing and featuring people that are in business in Mexico already, whether it's online kind of situation or an actual setup where, you are in a space, or you would like to rent a space. People who have a restaurant or any other kind of goods or services that they're selling, just kind of things along those lines. So that's the reason why I created this Friday Live, just for anyone who's interested in learning more about how to do business in Mexico from all angles, and also showcasing and featuring those folks so that you can be inspired by that and also learn a lot. I'm in the process of putting a couple things together as well that are going to be online based mostly, but possibly grow into having some group things in the future. So I'm going to probably just sit here really quickly. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens. I really am sorry that this person isn't here to join me today. Hi, Dawn, thank you so much for coming and joining, and also from Florida. Where in Florida are you? I actually lived in West Palm Beach before I moved to San Miguel de Allende a few years ago. But yeah, so today, unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened to Diva Green. I reached out to her. I am just kind of like hanging out solo at the moment, or sola for the correct way to say it in Spanish. So I'm probably going to just keep this really short and brief. If anyone's here that has any questions for me about, living in San Miguel or business in San Miguel, please be sure to share that. Fort Myers. So yeah, okay, Fort Myers. I was in West Palm Beach, and then I moved from Miami up to West Palm Beach. So for those of you who are just coming on, I wanted to just send a quick apology. My guest didn't show up today. So it was a little uncomfortable, but it is what it is. It happens. I don't know what happened. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that she's good and she's okay. So we'll figure it all out. I don't know that I should just hang out here and keep chatting. Okay. All right, Dawn. Awesome. So yes, you did send me a message about that. And I'm not sure if he's going to be here on Sunday, but we're going to do a really cool brunch at a friend of mine. She has like some really cool villas, and she does like brunch by appointment. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to join me on my Facebook platform for more information, or you can ask it here as well. I can send that to you. There are quite a few guests in town for the next couple of weeks, actually until the end of the year. So I'm really excited to get to connect with you all offline and in person, whoever's going to be here. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to add. If you have questions about doing work or business in Mexico, I have several resources that you can connect with in regard to that, how to set it all up, who to speak to. Hi, good morning, Terry. How are you? What is San Miguel like? San Miguel is amazing. So I'll tell you first about the weather. And hi, Rose. Hi, Angela. I know life happens. I was like, who can I call? Who can I add to this? So thank you guys for kind of like, chatting with me right now. But I'll answer your question. San Miguel is awesome. Okay, so It's this cool colonial, kind of Spanish colonial style city, very colorful. When I visited in 2005, it was much like smaller, a way slower pace at the time. I think I was like 36 years old. I'm kind of dating myself right now. But I remember just kind of being like, you know what am I going to do here if, at that point we were looking to move here? And I said, what would I do here? Like what would happen? What would I do with my life in San Miguel? And it just felt really slower paced in regard to where I was at that time. And now fast forward to 2021. And when I moved here in 2018, the city has grown quite a bit. There's like 170,000 in terms of the population, about 12,000 folks that live here full time that are expats. So if you are someone who really wants like the true cultural experience, San Miguel gives you that, but it also still gives you, drops of, what you might be used to coming from the United States. And that can be a good thing. I always tell people the reason why I love the city is it's a soft landing, but it's such a compact city. So if you've seen or if you've been to Italy or places like Spain, it's very similar to that in terms of the way it's set up. It's a very compact city. There are lots and lots of cobblestone streets everywhere. So you're like constantly moving around in a car. It's very bumpy, but it's very authentic as well. And that's what I really like about it. It feels very Mexican. It's not like, a city that you would kind of like experience in the US somewhere, actually nowhere in the US. So that's the part that makes it really feel Mexican. But then there are a lot of things about it that still make you feel like, okay, this feels familiar to me in terms of, product, services, goods, being able to communicate. And I really think that, people like it here a lot because you can really integrate into this society very easily without feeling like, a fish out of water. And there are parts of Mexico that are amazing in terms of the way it looks. It's beautiful. But in the end, it's like, how much can you really integrate into that area? And that's, and this is, okay, for those of you who are just joining us, I just want to say that my guest didn't show up today. So we're just having a conversation before I log off. We're just going with the flow. Okay, so thank you all for supporting me in this regard and also for being here. And I'm going to set up a different process from now forward to make sure that, there's reminders in place and making sure that I have a way to make sure they're getting on in time. So in saying all of that, San Miguel is amazing. It's a very compact city, so it's super walkable. The climate here is absolutely like to die for in general. It's not hot and humid. So if you're looking for like that tropical kind of weather, if you want to be by the beach, this is not the city for you. We are literally in the mountains. We are 6,300 feet above sea level, and it can get cool. So the average temperature, and I looked this up the other day, I'm gonna go ahead and do it again so you guys can have an idea, a clear idea. The average temperature here, okay, is, hold on a second, let me just do this quick. Google, okay, weather in San Miguel. Okay, so right now the weather's, it's 59 Fahrenheit, 59 degrees. And tonight it's going to be 40. So yes, that's a little chilly, but it's going up to 75. And that's what it's going to be pretty much for the next 10 days. So in the night, it's super cool. It's comfortable to sleep. I have like down comforters on my beds, and I have a fireplace. It's a gas kit fireplace, but it's a fireplace, and it heats this whole first floor that I live on mostly. And then upstairs is like the master bedroom area or whatever. I have like a plug-in heater. And in the day, it goes all the way up, almost every single day, it goes up to about 75 degrees. Hi, Katrina, how are you? Sorry, my guest isn't here. So I'm just explaining this a little. She didn't make it. How's your son doing? Okay, yeah, school's going great. I'm going to answer that after I finish this. So the weather is really amazing. And it's really easy to integrate. So like if you have questions, even for me about getting products, services, and things like that, feel free to ask them in the chat. But I love living here, even though I came from Miami and I love the heat as well, but I just felt like I needed a change. So I feel like there are like 3 seasons here in this part of Mexico, and you can kind of have any kind of weather you want. Just so you know, there's parts of Mexico that it actually snows. If that's your thing, that's not my thing. I grew up in Connecticut, so no, thank you. But there are places in Mexico where you can actually experience potential snow. But here, you know, we have like this kind of, you know, moderate climate. Our summer months are April and May, and it gets really, really dry and very, very hot because the rainy season is about June till maybe like the end of September or October-ish, and then it stops. Like we will not probably have any more rain until next year in June. So by the time we go through this cold season, things start getting a little dry. And then we get into April and May, it's like really, really dry. I wasn't used to that. Like my skin gets super dry and things like this. Basically, in saying all of that, it goes all the way into June. And then finally, you know, like that first rain feels like you're in Africa. You just, or part of somewhere in a desert, you know, it's just like, oh my God, you know, I need this. And then it rains almost every single day, mostly in the night. So we still get the same kind of setup where it's cool in the night. It can be a little warmer in the day in those months, like I would say on average 80 degrees, 80 to 85. April and May, it's like maybe more like 85, 90, but you never have like this stifling, you know, kind of heat. So the way our houses are situated, and I'm going to get to all the questions, so just stand by, be patient. The way our houses are situated, there's not a centralized heating and cooling system. So basically, you don't really need it. Like I've never needed an air conditioner, and I've lived here for 3.5 years. I have a ceiling fan in my main living area, and then I have one in the master upstairs, and then I have like the little stand-up fans, and the same for the heater. If I'm cold in a room, you know, like I don't want to turn on something that's going to be for the entire house anyway, because I'm only in one space. The fireplace works amazing. Like seriously, it's amazing. It heats this entire floor and it kind of goes up the hallway a little bit. So by midday, it's really warm out. Like right now, it's mega sunny outside and it's comfortable. So for those of you who are not looking for, you know, like that sweltering kind of like temperature or weather, this is a great option. And there are plenty of places in Mexico where you're kind of elevated or higher elevation, and the weather is just going to be way more comfortable in this regard. Now, about school, how's my son doing school and how diverse is it? Okay, so it's not very diverse. There's mostly, well, I'll take that back. It's diverse, but not diverse with us. So, you know, there are a lot of brown children, there are a lot of mixed children. And when I say mixed, like, you know, they'll have an American or US parent or Canadian Caucasian parent. And then the other parent is a local person or Mexican. So that is diversity, but you won't see a lot of Black children that are, you know, Afro-American Black or Afro-Canadian Blacks, but they're definitely skin tone wise, it's definitely a mix in that regard. So the first year when we came here, it was a little bit challenging because I kind of came in, I was thinking really about education. I wanted him to learn Spanish. I really wanted him to, you know, get this full immersion kind of experience. And I just, you know, I jumped in. I was like, what do you need? What do I have to bring? How does he qualify? You know, I was kind of checking out 5 or 6 different schools. I did a research trip to Mexico specifically for that because I was kind of concerned. But a big part of that was because my mindset at the time was trying to do it kind of in a, a US way. There's public schools and then there's private schools. And when I got here, I think I was just so like, I want to be ready. I want to make sure he's ready for first grade. He was only going into first grade. And so, we went around to a few of the local schools. They have like a Academia International, which is a bilingual school, and it really caters to people like myself, expats that come with their kids, immigrants, whatever you want to call us. And, they make it easy for them to immerse into the school. Now, there's like a lot of challenges because they have what they call the SEP program in Mexico, which is the same as an accredited school in the US, meaning accredited by the government to say, okay, this child passed this grade. So I was kind of used to that. And as I started, kind of getting into the groove of everything, the first 6 weeks of that first grade, we picked academia. I quickly realized like this setup wasn't really conducive for him because he didn't speak any Spanish at the time. So in saying all of that, it became a little bit of a behavioral challenge for him because he just wasn't doing like when the school entered into the Spanish portion of the day, what was happening is he was scribbling and doodling on his page because they were giving him first grade homework in Spanish and he didn't speak any Spanish. I thought they were going to take him out of the class and like teach him separately because some of the schools do that. That didn't actually happen and I didn't understand it. So I probably just didn't, I should have asked better questions, and is the reason why I'm here and I'm sharing with you guys, even though this wasn't the plan for today, but I'm here. I'm just gonna tell you my story about San Miguel. Sorry for those who are just joining, my guest didn't come. So in saying all of that, I am here to basically, share, and I offer services where you guys are able to get this firsthand and you don't have to go through all the things that I went through. You can kind of get, the consultation or whatever. But anyway, I'm going to give you this story. So he got into school. It was a struggle and I wasn't feeling it. So I ended up pulling him out. And then, don't do that. Okay, sorry, that's my kid. So after it was all said and done, I ended up putting him in another school, which was my second choice. And it was also a bilingual school, but a little bit more traditional in its nature, kind of like a techie school. They do a lot of their work on iPads, very well organized. It's called Newland. So if anyone's interested, they have several campuses in Mexico. That's Newland, and it's NWL. You can find them online. I don't think you're going to find anything in English, but they are bilingual. And a lot of the parents here, they send their child there. So that was the other option. He went there for a couple weeks, or say 2 months or so, and I still wasn't feeling it, and I had people who said to me, oh, just let him stay there. Let him continue to work it out and struggle. And I was just like, no, I didn't move to Mexico for him to have a miserable educational experience in first grade. Like, it's not that serious. And I really want this to be remembered as a time where we both, were accepting the culture, accepting our change, immersing ourselves, but in a pleasant way, not stressful. That was never my intention for this move to be stressful. So what I learned in the process is just be flexible and be like water and just go with the flow of whatever it is you feel instinctually, and I'm just talking, I'm sharing this was not the plan, but I'm sharing this with you guys. I'm sorry, my guest didn't show up. So in saying all of that, what happened with the school, this technology school, it was just so stringent, and again, he still didn't speak the language really well. I hired a tutor who was working with the school, coming to my home after school to teach him Spanish and help him through the homework. So, but it was still a struggle. Your child is not going to learn Spanish in 2 months. Fortunately for me, he speaks Spanish fluently right now. He's better than I am. But what I realized is that they kind of need that first year probably to be in a less stressful, non-educational environment to learn Spanish. So for example, if you're a homeschooler or you've traveled or you're in the US and you have your child there, maybe try to get them Spanish lessons before you get to Mexico. They're still not going to be as fluent as, they would be once they're here and practicing, unless there's someone in your family that speaks Spanish. But in saying all of that, it's one of those scenarios where it's just when you're learning from an educational standpoint and you're in a classroom with a bunch of other students who speak the language really well, it can be overwhelming. And he was the only student at that second school who did not speak fluent Spanish. So when there was a problem, he couldn't really explain it really well, even though there were teachers around. It's like the level of patience didn't really exist at that specific school. So I kind of had them up because I was like, you know what, y'all? I was like, I kind of expect you to, do a little extra to make him feel like he's a part of this mix. And what was happening in the Spanish portion of the class or day, because it's like a half a day in English and a half a day in Spanish. And then there's an English teacher and then there's a Spanish teacher, and they teach whatever they teach. What was happening was they were asking some of the children, which he's now good friends with one of them, to translate. And I was like, this is the child, a teacher. And, and it just started getting really messy. And then I realized, like in March, I think, of that year, they had like a little break. And I was just like, you know what? I remember driving him to school one day and just feeling like I'm telling him, just, do your work, listen, just follow along, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember just having like this sense of release. And my sense of release was, we didn't move here for this kind of level of stress, and it's not a big deal. Like, he's still young. Now, if you have an older child, it probably would be a bigger deal. But, and I'm sorry, my dog's barking. Somebody's outside the door bothering him. But anyway, I just felt like he's in first grade, like everyone needs to chill the L out. So I had some friends, and this is when I started realizing how much diversity there is in terms of learning and how many options there are. So I had a friend that lived in my neighborhood and another friend actually, and they had a school together. And the school was, hold on a second. The school was a school that they had created. It wasn't accredited, but it was for like kids his age and younger to basically learn by playing and learn through projects and learn through just kind of, not the pressure, but learn in a more like outdoor kind of thing. I had not been exposed to this concept necessarily. And then I met another group of parents that were literally traveling in a huge group, like 30 kids. That group was very diverse. There were Afro-Americans in this group. This girl that had put it together, she was from New York and also Afro-American. And they had created this world school group. And then there were other things happening. And I was literally like opened to all these other concepts of learning, the unschoolers, not quite my thing, but there was like the homeschool, the unschool, the world school. And I was like, what is going on? Because I was so used to public school system or private school. It's either you can afford to pay private or you get some kind of scholarship and grant, or you put your kid in the best public school that you can get into, either through a lottery or this is the zip code that you live in. And that was kind of it, in the US, homeschooling doesn't have the most positive, at least not, a couple of years ago, the most positive connotation, but it actually is fantastic. So in moving here, I started learning about these other options and these other things. So the other being, you know what, I'm not going to stress him out, and I'm definitely not going to stress myself out. So giving myself like a year to really just get settled into living in San Miguel was key. All right. So basically, I took him out and I put him in this other situation, which was really and truly like, it was a learning experience for both of us, and he absolutely loved it. You know, they were learning how to do more things by hand, like learning how to get along and do things in teams. They were learning about nature. They had teachers taking them on like these excursions in outdoors, and learning about the plants and rocks. And he'd come home and he was so excited about whatever. And I remember thinking like, this is important as well. And he was already a reader. He was already doing math. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to have him do the academics at home, and then I'll let the school do what they're doing. All right. But I never intended for him to stay there extremely long amount of time, but I let him finish out that first school year in this situation because it was just, it was easy going, and we were melting into living here, and I just didn't want the stress. I really didn't. So what I then did was I started looking at other school options I didn't even know existed, because it's so hard to find information online. So, tap into all the resources that are available to you, all that are interested in moving here in all the cities in Mexico. You'll find a group of someone that can help, whether it's a, Black expat group or a non-Black expat group, it doesn't matter. There's always someone that can help you, and that you can mostly find them on Facebook. Okay. So I think that that's like key for you to not run around, because I spent a lot of money, not not excessive, but I spent a lot of money enrolling him in the first two schools, because I had to pay an inscription fee. I had to pay for uniforms, materials. And then, 2 months later, I was like, not quite working out for us. So I'm just giving you that. And I'm glad you asked this question, Angela. But it ended up turning out really and truly like amazing. So fast forward a little bit, I moved him into a Montessori school. This was pre-COVID, and they were so loving, so caring. They were so tapped into each child's emotional development, and the things and the way they learned. It was really amazing. They were teaching them how to work in teams and community. And the school was seriously not super fancy, but it was like, out in like a kind of country neighborhood setting. They had plenty of playground to play on, little classrooms, maybe like, 15 students with a teacher's aide. There's a bilingual and whatever. And it just wasn't a ginormous school. Like, they knew your name, it's still good. It was still a pretty decent student population, but the setup reminded me of when I went to school in the 70s. It was just really a smaller, closer knit existence. And the positive thing about San Miguel is you really do get to meet the parents. And because we went to several schools, I know a lot of parents and kids because of the, moving around quite a bit. And it was easy to move around. And that school was super, super affordable. I mean, the inscription fees, even now, they still are very affordable. The inscription fees per month, or I should say the tuition per month, is somewhere around a little under $200 for a private school, Montessori, the whole Montessori concept, et cetera. Now, COVID changed all of that, because what ended up happening with COVID is that school was not equipped for online. So the end of last year, we ended up going into having to do Zoom. They just weren't set up this way. They're a textbook school, hands-on, painting, coloring, drawing, doing a lot of crafts and, whatever. So when they went to online, they really, really struggled. And so did I, and so did my kid. And fast forward to third grade, which was not this school year, 2020. I said, okay, let him do half a school year. They kind of pulled it together at the beginning of the new school year in 2020. They pulled like a whole schedule together. They were on Zoom from 8 to 1. they had little breaks in between, and they, they did a good job. I mean, I'm sure they modeled other schools around just to do it right. And even though that wasn't their thing, but they still did a decent job. But I quickly realized, and I'm sure this is the case for almost every parent, that this was not my kid's way of learning. And, even though I was here, physically here, kind of, checking up on things, I realized that, what? This is not happening, and I'm paying for it. I'm still paying the same amount in tuition, and it's just going downhill. Now, I thank my lucky stars that I live here, and this is another benefit, I hope, for you guys. And this is something that I think is across Mexico, so not just special to San Miguel. I ended up, hi, Shanta, I will answer all your questions. I ended up, and I'm sorry, I'm a little chatty Cathy. I'm a little long-winded, as you guys know, if you watch any of my interviews, but I ended up posting last year, pretty much a year ago, on a local Facebook group that I was looking for a math tutor. But my back of mind intention was, if I can find a good teacher, because a lot of teachers lost their jobs because of COVID and their schools were closed. If I can find a good teacher, I'm going to take that tuition money and I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to pay a teacher to work one-on-one with my child, and it's affordable. So I ended up posting on one of the local Facebook groups that I was looking for a tutor, maybe a teacher. I forget how many hours a week I initially wanted. And, I ended up interviewing like 6 or 7 people. And lo and behold, here was Miss Judy, who is amazing. She was a recent retired teacher from Texas. She just retired last November. I found her in January of this year, and she taught his grade level. And when I tell you he has flourished, he has. My point of saying all of that is that you have to figure out what your child's skill sets are and how they learn, but it's so affordable to do things like this in Mexico. And you can, take your money and put it somewhere else and get your kid or yourself whatever it is that you need, and it still doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. So I now have him set up. So we started, with less in January. She got him through the end of 3rd grade, and I saw such a huge, a huge improvement in his processes with math, reading, comprehension. And he was always a good reader, not a great speller, but a great reader, which, yeah, it's kind of weird, but his math skill sets were just like, it's harder for him. That's not something he picked up really quickly. And by the end of the school year, which was in June of this year, he was literally just doing almost 4th and a half grade math. I was really impressed with that. And she worked with him one-on-one every day, just for a couple hours a week. And I realized, what? This is his way of learning. This is easier. It's better for him. And we have such a social setting where we live. I'm not worried about that part. So fast forward to now, okay? We're in 4th grade, and we ended up keeping the same situation. She now has 3 students, and they go to her home, and she does 15 hours a week, so 5, 5, and 5. And they do all sorts of cool things. They meet at the library. They go to a place that's called Geek and Coffee, and it's kind of like set up for kids and dogs and all outdoors. And it's just cool. They go there, free Wi-Fi, they log on, they do their work. And, it's very interactive, and it's also very personal. So for him, he's like really learning what his weak points are. And she's bringing all of those things. Like right now, he's in 4th grade, and we're like halfway through the year almost. He literally is doing like math for 5th grade and a half. We were making a joke, the parents and I, yesterday, because I can't help him with his homework, because I'm just like, I don't remember how to do that. But the point of saying that, it's very, very affordable. And, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and I'm able to put him in other activities. So that was the super long version of the answer to your question about the weather. Playa del Carmen, Merida, so just in location again. So looking to try, okay, yes, T. Williams. In terms of the differences, so Playa is is beach, okay? Playa means beach, water. So yes, total beach. I've been there. It's really cool. If that's your thing, for sure, check out some of the interviews I've done with people in Playa, how they ended up there. And I feel like a lot of times what happens is you end up in a place and you end up staying there because, you get there and you're like, Mexico does that. You can probably end up anywhere almost in Mexico and fall in love if you haven't really been around, because it's just amazing. The culture is amazing. As far as Merida has a huge growing Black expat population. There's a lot to do. I spoke to a gentleman yesterday. His name is Cartes. Yesterday, the day before. He's amazing. There's several groups on Facebook where you can tap in and get information. You can meet people there, ask questions. That's to me, that Facebook is the source in terms of if you want to move to Mexico, like this is where you go. Okay. We're going to be doing upcoming, we're going to have a Move to Mexico Summit coming up. So listen out for that. I'll be on with my co-host Vanessa in a couple of weeks to talk about that. And there will be plenty of information available on it soon. So sit tight. But there's so many resources here for you guys. If you want to go to Puerto Vallarta, go to Black PV. If you want to go to Merida, there's a Black Merida page. If, whatever it is, if you want to go to Cancun and Tulum, there's a page for that. Just do like a search and you'll find it, or put questions in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, you guys. Thank you so, so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys, and women and men. I appreciate you and I really appreciate your support. But I wanted to say, just put the questions in the comments if you want to know about a specific area, and I'll tell you what the resource is for that. As far as the differences, so Mexico is as far as my arms go, it's just a big country. We're in the mountains, and I'll give you like a range. Like Merida is in Cancun. If I hopped in my car today, I wouldn't get there till tomorrow. It's 22, 23 hours away. And that's with me not stopping. Obviously, I'd have to stop. So it's pretty far away from here. Merida, I know, is set a little bit more inland. A lot of people are going there, but it's set more inland, so it's not quite on the water. I think the closest beach is Progreso Beach and maybe Campeche and things like that. I believe Cancun and Playa, those cities, they're definitely in the same, area. I believe it's still all considered to be the Yucatan, which is a state. But within the state, you have the places that are really on the water. Merida is not one of them, but they're only, I think, about 20 or 30 minutes to the closest beach, which I believe is Progreso. And it's, from what I've heard, it doesn't sound like it's fabulous, not like what you expect in terms of the beach. Now, if you're really looking for a beach town, so yes, sorry, let me finish my thought. Merida is really quickly growing. It's very affordable. I feel that a lot of people have moved there because it's affordable, and it's been kind of marketed really well on YouTube, and people that have gone there, there's a lot of different YouTubers that have promoted Merida. And then there are people like myself popping up around Mexico in different places. Like, for example, if you're interested in Oaxaca and being in the mountains, there's Black expats in Oaxaca. That's also amazing. So you should understand there are 32 states in Mexico, and within those 32 states, there are thousands and thousands of cities and places you can live. There are major cities that you can live in. If you're a city person and you want to just be like in the city, you want everything, faster, fast paced. Like, if you want the fastest pace in Mexico, go to Mexico City. Okay. There's like millions of people that live there, and it's huge, it's sprawling. No, it's not uber dangerous. And yes, you can live there. And yes, you can have a fabulous life and save yourself, money if you're earning US dollars, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a great place for you guys to, consider in terms of a country. What I wanted to say about living in San Miguel is the weather's amazing. The temperature, it's a much smaller city. I think someone asked me about Querétaro, so I'm just going to scroll back up for 1 second and see. Oh, okay, yes. Katrina asked me, I'm sorry, it took a while to get to this. If you're still here, the weather in Querétaro is very similar to San Miguel. Querétaro's only about 45 minutes to 1 hour away from where we are. And that's where they have the major airport, international airport. And that's where you fly in and out of to get to San Miguel. That's the closest airport. And then the next closest is in León, which is on the west side of San Miguel. And that's about an hour and a half away from here. So it kind of all depends on where you're coming from. These are like the things I talk about if you wanted like a consultation to get here, like, you know, all the logistics. But one of the things I want to say is if you are interested in coming to San Miguel and you live on the West Coast in the United States, look into flying into León. That's the closest airport. If you're coming from like, you know, mid-US to going to the east side of the US, like, you know, along the East Coast or anywhere in between, then you would look into flying into Querétaro as far as getting closest. You can also fly into Mexico City. A shuttle will pick you up and bring you to San Miguel if you're interested in coming here. So I think I answered that in terms of the weather. Yes, it's similar. And yes, Angela, Kansas City today, 40 degrees, but wind chill. Oh, well, yes, we start out at 40 degrees, but it actually, it actually goes up to about 70. So thank God for that, because I don't like it cold. And yes, Desiree, in regard to your daughter is 6, so that helps so much. Yes, Spanish lessons really help, but I'll tell you this, kids really pick it up really quick. I would ask my son to come on and speak to you guys in Spanish, but he gets a little shy when I put him on the spot like that. But if he's talking to his friends, he's just like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm really surprised by his fluency, because obviously I speak to him in English. Every now and then, you know, I'll throw something in, like if he asks me something, I'll say something extra to him in Spanish, but mostly we speak in English. So I'm really impressed with his progress. But we're 3 years in, and I'll tell you what really helped. I've hired a tutor who works 3 days a week with him. And she comes for 1 hour. So it's like 1 hour, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We have a whole curriculum that we actually still facilitate through the Montessori school. And he's now still getting the credit, even though he's not fully in their school. So this is how flexible things are in Mexico. So I didn't quite finish. Well, I didn't explain that to you. So I'll tell you. So once I moved him away and out of the school, you know, I went to the director, who is amazing at the Montessori school. It's called Atabal. And that's spelled Atabal, in case you're looking for it. You're not going to find them on the internet. Just go to Facebook and see if you can find it. Atabal Carousel in San Miguel. So in saying that, I remember I went to the director and I just said, you know, this situation isn't working for my son. You know, I'm going to put him in, you know, this other situation with this woman, and she's going to teach him. But I would like to continue with you guys for the Spanish portion. Is that okay? And have you the Spanish teacher work with his Spanish tutor, the Spanish teacher at the school, to give him the Spanish homework and everything to the Spanish tutor who comes to my house. Her name is Miss Martha. And just have her keep working with him here at my home. They said yes. Okay. They were like, sure. And I said, and give him the credit. If you want him to hand in any work on the English side, sure, we'll do that too. No problem. And then I negotiated, you know, what I thought that was worth. You know, I'm paying 1/3 of what, actually less than 1/3 of what the tuition was for them to kind of facilitate it. So that cost me about $50 a month for that portion, but he's still getting credit with the Mexican school system that he went through 3rd grade, and now he's in 4th grade. Now, is this crucial? No, it's not. I'm doing it because I want the books and I want the materials, and I'll show you what those look like because it's right here. So this is the book, the Spanish book that he has right now. And, you know, they have these, and they have about 5 of them that they do throughout the school year. And each bimester, they call it bi-semester, it changes. And bi doesn't mean the same here, obviously, because to me, bi is one time, or 2 times rather. Anyway, saying all of that, I get the materials, they give me stuff that he needs to continue working. So then I don't have to think about it from the Spanish standpoint, because I just don't want to be so deep and involved in that part. But I also want him to have the skill sets of learning in Spanish, on an academic level, because in the future, at some point he might go to college here. He really needs to have more than the conversational, the talking. He needs to learn Spanish and how to read and understand Spanish at an academic level. That's important to me. So this is something that I'm able to facilitate, so that's the plus of being here. I feel like there's a lot of flexibility in this regard. And thank you so much, Lisa. Gold nuggets for those with children. Yes, if you guys have any other questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just rambling. But yeah, I just love living here. It's amazing. And I think that there are lots of choices for you guys. And even though my guests didn't show up, I'm glad that we were able to have this fireside chat. And I really appreciate you guys, ladies, mostly, because it's always ladies here. I really appreciate you ladies and all your support and everything that you do. And anyone that's aspiring to move to Mexico, seriously, feel free to hit me up with questions. I try my best to answer them. Like I said, join those groups that I mentioned. I'll save this. I'll put it out there for you to have and share. Feel free to, send info, join my Black SMA page if you haven't. I have a Black Owned Mexico page as well, which is this mostly to share business type things. And then I also do consultations as well for anyone interested in moving here. There's a lot to know. It can be overwhelming, but there are lots and lots of people who contact me that are doing it. And, I want you guys to be inspired from trying to figure out how do I earn money? There are so many people doing things and switching their careers and everything online. And I'm actually amazed that I get to meet all of these cool folks, and I don't meet them in person, I meet them here. And it's just be really inspirational. And it's also encouraging for me to keep doing this when I hear these stories. I watched your program and I did da-da-da. And, we didn't have this, I did not have this 3.5, 4 years ago. I came here because I had experience with Mexico. I had traveled in and out of Mexico, and I knew people that were Mexican that lived here. And yeah, so that's a whole other story. But when I first considered coming, I asked my friends in Mexico, what cities do you recommend for someone with a child? And they gave me a list. And Merida was one, San Miguel, Mexico City, Guadalajara, Guanajuato, which is I actually live in the state of Guanajuato, but there's a Guanajuato city, which is about an hour away, and it looks like a sprawled out version of San Miguel. It's very colorful, it's beautiful. Anyway, saying all of that, it's a great option. If you are either slowing down, semi-retired, earning money online, you need, there's all these ladies that are sabbatical based, whatever it is, this is a great option. It's close to the US and you don't have to go far, to be close to your family members and things like that. So I'm just sharing all of that. And there's a lot to know, what's the cost of living and all these things. So maybe we're going to switch up our chats to that. Feel free to put stuff in the comments box for me, whether it's now or if you're watching this on the replay. So if you guys don't have any, if you ladies don't have any more questions, I hope I didn't miss anything. Nicole, thank you. Yes, you're absolutely welcome. Private school here in the Porto. Oh, cool. Okay. Awesome. Yes, it does come with a lot of challenges. I really think a lot of it's a lot of things. I feel like a biggest part of that is the cultural adjustment. And I think the younger your child is, the easier it is for them to adjust, that's just the facts. The older they get, they become more individual of their own mindset, and it's just harder for them to, adjust, possibly if they're not, it depends on their personality type. That's for kind of a psychologist, but what I find with my kid is he's a social child. So he had the need to socialize and communicate and talk. So I think it's easier for the child to learn Spanish. If they're kind of shy, withdrawn, not comfortable in a new setting and doesn't feel like, accepted or received, then it's going to be harder for them to learn the language because they're going to resist this, unless they're just like, I just want to learn it. I just want to be book smart and I want it, whatever. But I've seen shy children have a struggle with learning and integrating into the culture because they're shy and they're just kind of like, they're not going to be that kid who's running around like mine in a group outside with, a bunch of children they don't know that they can't communicate with. And, they're just going to kind of be like, I'll stay at home. I don't want to go out and play, whatever. Like when my kid first came, we went to this like a jungle gym kind of thing. And he was in heaven. It was like a giant Chuck E. Cheese, but no, not Chuck E. Cheese, just a jungle gym, like, playing, but it was huge. And it's right up the street from my house. And they sell chicken. It's called Pollo Feliz. And it's just like you go there, you eat, they play, you sit down, the parent, and it's trust, like you could just leave them in there and not have to worry about them. They have people watching them and stuff like that. And I remember this is within the first like maybe 2 weeks or so of us moving here. And he was like, some kid was calling him and he's calling the kid. He's like, amigo, amigo. And the other kid's like, come amigo, like bang, bang. And, it was like just this instant, like, kids do that. They just play. And then little by little, he just started learning words and learning things. So at the end of the day, it's just became one of those situations where he learned the language with help and assistance. So, I always say, like, what's the priority? That they have a lot of anxiety about being in this scenario or situation, or that they actually enjoy it. So find things that they can do that are kind of integrating their interest with learning and the culture, and find groups of people and things that they can do. Going to the park, I know it's COVID and things like that, but the parks are opened again, and just like, try to integrate them in this way. And if the school is tough, I don't believe in making my child suffer through an academic situation, because I just feel like, what, there are other ways of learning. So that's something I learned here, keeping my mind open to other ways of learning and exposure. So that's key, that's really key. So I really appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a fantastic Friday. I'm going to log off now, and hopefully we'll hear from Diva at some point. Stay tuned. Oh, by the way, next week on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central, I'm going to have Adriana Vila on live. I'm going to make sure she shows up. I'm pretty sure she will. I'm going to have her here live, and she's an immigration specialist. So there's a lot happening right now in Mexico with tourist visas, getting a resident visa, and then transitioning into permanent visa. There are people who get permanent visas right off the top. I'm not going to explain how that all works, even though I've been through some of that stuff. I have a temporary visa, which I'm going to apply for my permanent visa in January. And after you get the permanent visa, you can then become a citizen of Mexico if that's your desire, which makes things a lot easier, like owning a business, and just you get benefits as well. Here, they're maybe not as extensive as they are in the US, but the point of saying all of that is she'll be here on Wednesday. So I really think that if you're really interested in moving to Mexico, do it the right way. They are cracking down. If you are following any of the stuff that's happening now, they're really cracking down on people that keep renewing their tourist visas, because they were giving 180 days. In general, they were giving people 6 months, basically 180 days to come into Mexico. And people were abusing this for years and decades, actually, where they would come into Mexico and then they would stay or overextend, or leave for a few days or whatever, and then come back. So there's a difference between snowbirding, where you're coming for a few months because you have a home here, or you just want to hang out in Mexico when it's really cold wherever, you're coming from in the world. But then there's also, the people who live here full time, but they're living on a tourist visa. So they're really cracking down. There's a lot of different reasons why they're doing this. And what's happening is people have their whole life here in Mexico, an apartment with all their stuff in it. And maybe they travel back to their, original home place, state, country, wherever, back to the US to visit family members. And they're coming back in thinking, oh, I'm going to get another 180 days on my tourist visa. And they're giving them 10 days, okay, to come visit and leave. So in saying that, this has become really a huge problem. And then there are also those people that are in these caravans of people that are, coming from the south of Mexico, trying to get to the south of the US and enter the US. And Mexico has a treaty right now with the US to basically, manage this process. And the system in Mexico just can't take the overload of all of these extra people and whatever the issues are. Okay, so I have her on because I'm not a specialist in this regard, and I can talk about it like I am in bits and pieces of what I heard, third person, and I'm just not going to do that very long. So I think it's really smart to get on the horn, listen in, or come on and ask questions. You'll be able to ask her questions live, and fingers crossed, that she'll make it. She will, I'm pretty sure. She's been pretty on point in responding to me. And I think it's a great opportunity to really find out how to do it the right way. And it's also a good opportunity for her to have some future clients as well. And you guys and anyone else that watches the video, whether it's live or on the replay. So, find out what's happening if you want to come in, how you do it, where you start the process in the US at a Mexican consulate, what's the latest on what you have to have. And that's still not going to be 100% accurate because I feel like it differs a little bit from consulate to consulate. That's been my experience in doing it in Miami. And then what other people were like, oh, all I had to do was show them the savings account of X amount of dollars. It's just all over. I could never get straight information when we were going through this. So fortunately, we're through it. But I can tell you this, that it's still a much easier process than people trying to enter the US and Canada and a lot of other, countries. So do it the right way so you're not deported, because people have been deported and they're literally deporting people right now. So I'm really appreciative that you guys are here and supportive of this. So happy Friday, everyone. Have a great weekend. And thanks so much. Please continue to support, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you enjoy my content, like this video and anything else out there, and feel free to give me suggestions on things you want to see and hear about. And I'll try my best to put it all together for you. So have a fantastic weekend. All right, bye.